Wait, so they aren't brothers? Hello, fellow movie lovers. Welcome back to another video of Everything Movies. I'm your host, Jefferson Coe, and today I will be reviewing Mufasa, the Lion King. This movie was directed by Barry Jenkins, and man, he improved on everything that the first movie, technically the 2019 version, I wouldn't call it the first movie, but it's their first Lion King live action movie. He improved on everything that they struggled with in 2019. The 2019 version had a lot of issues, in my opinion, and I think that it started with mainly it being CGI and it not typically, like the live action aspect is controversial for a lot of people. I would say Disney has more misses than hits with the live action movies, and I just think that in this one, Barry Jenkins did a little bit better with showcasing the facial expressions and the emotional feelings that the animals were feeling, and he did a better job at showcasing it in the movie. So I will give him that. So there was some improvement. However, I do think that if the movie was still animated like the original one is, if this one was animated, I feel like the emotions would have been there and it would have been more evident, and it would have been a lot easier to just receive as an audience. Secondly, I think that the visual aspect of the movie was way better, and the music, the original songs, I love each and every one of them. And so walking out of this movie, I felt like that I had watched a really good movie. So that's always a good thing to feel after you have just gone and spent your money to go watch a movie at the movie theaters. As far as the plot of this film, we are learning about the life of Mufasa before he became known as the Lion King. So Mufasa is actually a little cub at the beginning of this film, and we follow his life as he gets separated from his parents, and then he's having to find his way back home. And that's just, that whole aspect of the story was just phenomenal.
Hello, what's your name?
Mufasa.
I told you to wait for me.
We can't just leave him here.
Rules are rules, Tucker. The king will never accept a stray.
I'm not a stray. I'm just lost.
The first act and the second act of this movie was great. The first act and the second act had me engaged. It had me like, oh my gosh. It had me like thinking like, oh, what's gonna happen next? And then by the time we get to the third act, we know that it has to wrap things up and connect to what we see in Lion King. And so most prequel movies fall into this like trap because they typically have to line things up the way that it is in that first whatever project it was. So it doesn't have the liberty to really end the story how it wants to end the story. And I feel like that is where this movie kind of not fails, but it just kind of it gets held back, because you know they were doing really well in the beginning and in the middle, and then at the end they're just like, we have to line it up to the fact that he's gonna become the king of Pride Rock, the Lion King of the jungle, whatever, and he's eventually gonna have Simba, and Simba's gonna go on his adventure and all of that, like everything that we know about the Lion King. And so that's the only thing that I would say about the plot, where I feel like, man, like I wish they had more liberty, and I wish that it wasn't a prequel. Like if it was just a random Lion King story, if we weren't even learning about Mufasa and it was just some random Lion King with some random tribe, and they had the liberty to make the ending that I feel like they probably would have nailed, it would have been like a phenomenal, like it was already a phenomenal film, but it would have been even better.
We must protect the bloodline.
But Dad, I saved his life. I have a secret, Mufasa. I always wanted a brother. I always wanted a brother.
Overall, this movie was about family. It was about finding yourself. It was about learning to trust, learning to love, learning to like what it's like to have a brother. All of those things were like packed into this film, and I think that it did a phenomenal job in showing the true acts of love, true acts of sacrifice, true acts of just all of these different things that parents, children, kids, any type of family and members of a family will go through and throughout their lives. Especially for Mufasa, we see him struggling with a lot of different things like his PTSD and his trauma, and he's just trying to become a king, and he doesn't necessarily want to be a king. And I think that's another like conversation about, you know, rising up to the responsibility of certain things that you're called to. And I just think that this movie nails all of its deeper meanings that it has embedded into the film. And in that aspect, I love when movies can do that, especially family friendly movies and kids movies, because I feel like if anybody needs to learn those type of lessons, it's younger audience, especially when they are, you know, just soaking things in. Because at that age, we're still in like, children are still very like receptive to a lot of new information. You can even see it in this movie with Kid Scar and Kid Mufasa. Like both of them are like learning as they go, and Scar is being like, you know, his parents, the way his parents raise him, very much contributes to how he grows up and how the person he becomes, and also his own life experiences too. But I feel like the foundation that his parents give him is what really builds him into the character that he is. And I think that showing stuff like that in films is like super, super important. And this movie really nailed it when it comes to like just having a good message and having something to talk about. I would say that this movie is definitely a must watch. I don't know necessarily if you want to watch it in theaters, because I know some may not like the live action aspect of it, but then some may not really care. For me, I'm one of those people that don't really care that is in live action. Do I know that it would be better if it was animated? Yes, and I would much rather appreciate an animated movie. But I'm here for the music. Y'all all know I love music, and Lin-Manuel Miranda was on this project and he did his thing. I feel like he really embodied what the original Lion King soundtrack had, and I'm a full-on applause to Lin-Manuel Miranda. As always, he does great. So the music for me was just, you know, I loved it. And then the plot itself was fun too, and the messages that it had in the story was great. So in my book, I would say this was a really, really good movie, and I will go watch it in theaters. If not, then I would just wait till Disney Plus or watch it with my family at home. But other than that, I would say it was a good, I would give it a good 7.5. 7.5 out of 10, only because the ending, like I said, they didn't have the liberty to do what they wanted to do because it is a prequel movie. So that is the only reason why I would give it something like that. Now, if it was its own story, then I would give it something higher. Other than that, I would say go see the movie. And that's pretty much all that I have to say about this movie review about Mufasa the Lion King. If you like what you see here, please subscribe, drop a like, comment down below, talk about the movie if you want to. Tell me how'd you like the review. And I would love to start the conversation just about anything, the movie itself, the Lion King movies, live action Disney, whatever you want to talk about, we can talk about it down below in the comments. And as always, click that bell so you can be notified when the next video is about to drop. I'll see you all next time.